everyone, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I am Brad, here with Doug.
Hey.
I just finished up Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. This game, if you're unfamiliar with it, is what feels like DLC to Infinite Wealth, but is its own separate thing.
Sure. Is that kind of how these like sort of, is this kind of like all those half games sort of feel? Like they sort of like kind of like just a big DLC thing?
This feels more so than a lot of the other ones because this is actually, it takes place, I believe it was 6 months after Infinite Wealth. So it's very much like direct continuation without any of the main characters from Infinite Wealth. It's very odd how they kind of frame it there. So you do need some Yakuza Like a Dragon backstory for this because it does just jump right into it. And I will say, I think this is important to know, if you have not played Infinite Wealth, this will spoil the entire game of Infinite Wealth within probably the first 45 minutes.
That's so annoying because I was actually thinking about doing this one. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense in context, is what essentially is happening is the events of Infinite Wealth are being cleaned up by some of the spoilers for 7, ex-Yakuza from 7 are going to some of the places from Infinite Wealth to kind of deal with the remains of what's left at the end of that game. And that's where Majima comes in and kind of gets into Hawaii. So because it's a direct follow-up, it makes sense that they spoil it, but there is one scene, because it's kind of the way that Majima is presented this is he's completely lost his memories because of an accident that happened. So there's literally a scene where it's like, but you don't remember when da-da-da happened? And he goes, no. They're like, not even da-da-da-da-da?
Oh, that's
like,
so
no.
annoying. That's kind of funny. That's kind of funny, but yeah.
The pieces that are there are filled in later because it references back to those things from Infinite Wealth. So you're like, you need to have that background. But I do think that's important to say that this does spoil it because it does. The way it's presented, she's like, oh, this is just a fun, goofy pirate spinoff. And it's like, no, it is a direct follow-up that spoils all of the last game. It's not just a fun, goofy pirate game. But to kind of get into this a little bit, it is the side games, like you mentioned, which go back to kind of the beat 'em up combat. So it does have that going for it versus the turn-based. So I think that's the other thing where I've seen a lot of people like, oh yeah, I'm going to jump back into this one because it's not the turn-based. I don't like turn-based. Well, if you have any desire to play the other ones.
Yeah.
It starts out, and I think this is very cool, those reality shows where it's like a person in a chair talking to camera. That's the opening scene, is Majima sitting there like, so here I was in his full pirate garb in this giant purple chair. Like, so there I was, washed up on a chair. Like, what the hell is this? And it literally presents, and if you've played like a Dragon games before, it always says like, bum bum, and it says like, Goro Majima X da 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 da. So it's like, there I was sitting there, and then it just boom boom like that up on the side of it, like a reality show to open it. So right off the bat, you're getting this kind of weird, goofy Majima tone. If you don't know who he is kind of this goofy side character who's been in all of the Yakuza games. Again, the game assumes you know a lot about him going into this.
Yeah.
Which
he's kind of like, he's like Joker adjacent. I mean, he's more interesting than the Joker necessarily, but he is kind of just like a chaotic, sometimes friend, sometimes enemy character, right?
Yeah, he very much, I think Joker is a good way to describe it. Just if you're looking for a very baseline concept, much more realistic and helpful.
Sure. That's fair.
That's kind of the attitude. It is weird because I feel like they play with his personality a little bit in this because he's lost his memory. So it's like, okay, he plays a little bit more straight man than you normally get from him because he doesn't necessarily have his memories. There's actually one point in the game where, like, out of nowhere, like, he's freaking crazy. It's like, oh, and then like 2 minutes later, it's like, oh yeah, don't worry, my memory's back, baby. And you're like, oh, okay, like very clear. Like, this seems much more like traditional Majima than normal.
Yeah, that's cool.
Also, he remembers a lot of basic facts pretty quick. It's very much like an amnesia for amnesia's sake, because it's like maybe an hour and he's like, oh yeah, no, I remember this. I remember this. I don't remember that. No, I don't remember that. Oh yeah, I remember that, but I don't remember that. Where it's like kind of like selectively responding.
Yeah, what's the benefit to him having amnesia? Like, does he learn anything that you don't already know? Because it sounds like if you've played 8, people just tell him what happened in 8.
So basically the story is he washes up on this island, and the amnesia is how he becomes a pirate. Is basically he has amnesia, he washes up on this island, and you're immediately befriended and helped by this boy Noah, who basically is your like sidekick through the whole game. And you meet up with him, and you're instantly attacked by pirates, and you're like, oh, the hell is this? These weird ass pirates just come up here. There's just pirates now? And Noah's like, yeah, on our island there's pirates. And essentially you learn right away that the Yakuza have gone to this island to help out with some of the stuff from 8. And he goes, oh, okay, well, I don't know how to get there. And the way that he ends up getting there is because he kind of like gets in a fight with these pirates and takes over their pirate ship. So the amnesia kind of serves more as a like kickstart into this game of like, okay, we need a way to like just make it so that he's cool being a pirate.
And that's sure. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
It's not necessarily like this huge major like revolutionary plot point. Honestly, after the first 30 minutes and a few very important plot points where you're like, okay, yep, the amnesia is not that important.
Yeah.
But the game itself, after that point, has no real major driving plot to it. It's I struggled with it a little bit because of what this game is. The entire game is based on the you want to be a pirate.
Okay.
And that is the driving plot through the whole thing. So essentially, it's like you get there, you meet Noah. Noah's dad is basically like, no, you're never leaving our island. It's not safe out there. There's these pirates. These pirates will get you. You're never leaving our island. And you're basically like, no, you help me. Like, I will take you on a grand pirate adventure.
He just takes the kid.
Well, yeah, there's more back and forth between him and the kid's parents and stuff as you go. Okay. Like, for hour. But yes, essentially, it's just like that's his driving force for like a lot of this is like, I'm going to show Noah that there's more to the world than just his little island. And that's it for a good chunk. And then because you're a pirate, you find out about this lost treasure that's worth so much money. And then the rest of the game is basically, well, we're going to go get the treasure.
I mean, like, that's kind of weird, though. I mean, it's kind of, like, weak for a Yakuza plot, because usually, like, the plot, while convoluted, is usually, like, really the driving force for how those games, like, function.
Yes, and me in particular, my favorite thing about these is that ridiculous, convoluted, nonsense, backstabby plot. And without that, I felt like this struggled because it is just, go be a pirate. Have fun.
Did it replace with like silliness or something, or like what's holding this game together? Like he wants to be a pirate, so what? Is there like an extra level of silliness to fill in the melodrama, or just?
I mean, there's really no melodrama. Essentially, it's that he gets in with Noah's family, and Noah's family has some history of some things, and it's basically just kind of the Kiryu thing, where it's just like, I'm gonna help him because I feel like I'm a good person.
Yeah.
And you get a little bit because. I don't think this is a spoiler, but Noah is sick, but like they don't really get into what it is. He has an inhaler, but they don't get into like how sick he is, but it's like, oh yeah, we're going to go find, and this treasure is rumored to have like an elixir of eternal life. So like, I'll go find that for Noah, which you can chuckle, but I will say that my absolute favorite part of this is there's a post-credit scene that gets into that a little bit more, and it is phenomenal. And without question, the greatest part of this game is this like 5-minute long post-credit scene that actually gets a little bit more into that. So you can laugh because it sounds ridiculous, but it gets into that a little bit more at the end, and it's very, very good. But yeah, that's kind of the issue that I have. Is never this real driving like plot that I want to see. I want to see the next scene. I want to see this next interaction with this character. Like, ooh, what are they going to do next? It has other characters. You do get in this confrontation with at Madlantis, which is like this pirate criminal underground area where there's like a king and a queen, and there's like rivals and stuff. But it never gets beyond. I'm gonna say this just because my daughter's been watching a lot of Pokemon. That like Pokemon, like I'm gonna beat my rival. It never really feels like it gets past that.
Sure. Yeah.
Which for Yakuza, I want more than that. So
yeah, I guess that's true. But like this game just seemed like they really just pushed the gas on like the comedy aspect of it. Is it a much sillier game that at least it's like kind of, is it doing is it just like, is it like, it's because it kind of sounds like a Yakuza game without the melodrama, but you're not like, by the way, it's also super funny and goofy. And you just like haven't mentioned that at all. So is it just kind of like,
it has a little bit of that, but I don't think it's any more than like Zero where you play as Majima a lot.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's any more like absurd and ridiculous than that. I think like the absurdity and ridiculous is his character, and it's just kind of that goofy, like he's a pirate the whole time. Like it's just kind of like the Yakuza guy's a pirate. Yeah. I don't necessarily think I was like disappointed by it, but I think I definitely, like you're saying, like I was expecting more from this, especially with how strong The Man Who Erased My Name was, which was the last kind of like half game. That was so strong that I was expecting something more of this, and maybe that's just me going like, I didn't really just want a pirate game. I wanted something more. So maybe that's a little bit on me, but the other negative connotation of that is because the game itself is just kind of this weird, goofy story. The sub stories don't hit as hard because like the whole game just feels like a sub story. Because this feels like the type of thing you would do in a Like a Dragon game, where it's like, oh yeah, Kiryu's a pirate for like an hour. You go and you meet the pirate, you get the pirate his cannons for a ship, and then you go on the ship with the pirate and you do a pirate fight and you find a treasure. That sounds like a fairly middle of the road, scary enough, Like a Dragon sub story.
Yeah.
And because that's what the driving thing is with this, going into the other sub stories, it's just like, but is that really like, it's not, I'm already doing the silly thing, guys. Like, I don't need the extra silliness on top of the silly thing. So,
sure.
I don't know. I feel like I wanted substantially more from this than I got, and I enjoyed it. It's a Like a Dragon game. I'm gonna love it. Like, I love everything about these games. It's probably the weakest one they've put out in a long time, compared to Infinite Wealth, Man Who Erased His Name, Like a Dragon, Yakuza Like a Dragon, even like the Judgment games I like more than this. It's just, it doesn't quite have that bite to it that those have. It doesn't really have that thing where it's like, this is what's making me want to keep going, other than like, I missed beat 'em up combat, and it's kind of goofy that he's a pirate.
So it's interesting. So it's like, because I know usually when we talk about like Yakuza games, we're like, one's weaker, and sometimes like I might just getting burned out on these games, but it doesn't seem like that at all. It just seems like this game is just not, it's just not cutting it. Not cutting it, but just kind of not cutting it as a Yakuza game.
Yeah, I think comparatively it doesn't feel as strong. I would say, again, like I said, of the last 5 years of these games, this is probably my least favorite. That being said, still enjoyed it. Still went back, did some other stuff after I finished it. Still did a bunch of sub stories. Still played a bunch of mini games. Still did all that stuff. But comparatively, it's just not there for me. The other thing, like the combat, like it's the beat 'em up combat you've had before, but it also has ship to ship combat, which I never played Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. And Skull and Bones never looked interesting to me. I don't get the desire to do pirate ship combat because they move so damn slow.
That's so funny.
I just could not get into the combat with it because it's just like, you drive at them, you tilt your boat sideways, you shoot your cannons, you drone in a circle, come back, you shoot your... It wasn't doing it for me. So I don't know. There's just enough things in this that just weren't. That's not for me. That's not for me. That's not for me. Ooh, but. Yeah. Majima's doing something cool. Oh, this reference back to Infinite Wealth. That's cool. Okay, like I still like the beat 'em up combat. It's just this weird game of like, I like that. I don't like that. I like that. I don't like that. So
yeah, that's a bummer.
I don't know. Yeah, I think there's definitely like, I think there's a spot for this because I think there are enough people that just want Yakuza to be this weird goofy thing. And this is this weird goofy thing, and I think there could be a lot of people who could be all in on that and get it and da 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 da. But I think it's ultimately just felt like one of those things where it's like, this was not the Like a Dragon stuff that I like, but there's definitely people out there where this is the type of Like a Dragon stuff that they would want. So,
gotcha. Yeah,
take that for what it is. But we are Workforce Gaming. Subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment below. There's links to support us and coffee as well. We'll see you later.
Bye.